Good morning, dear students. Students, today in the class, under the shelter of our sacred holy book Ramayana, we will be learning about the second law of motion and its relation with the change in momentum with the help of the famous incident from Ramayana in the life of Lord Ram and Mother Sita. During the period of 14 years of exile, the mother Sita from the Dandaka forest in Chitrakoot south was being abducted by a demon Ravan on this Pushpak viman. This viman can move and travel with the speed of the mind, so the Ravan along with Mother Sita on this Pushpak viman is traveling with the velocity u. Seeing this situation, the king of the vultures, who was flying in the sky, Jatayu, a devotee of the Mother Sita and Lord Ram, immediately attacked Ravan with his beak on his whole body. The Ravan gets suddenly injured and fell on the Pushpa Viman, and seeing the determination of Jatayu to save his mother, the Ravan applied a force applied a force F to change his velocity of the Pushpak Viman from U to V. So in this way, students, as I told you, whenever a force is being applied on a body, an acceleration is being produced. An acceleration is a rate of change of velocity. That means the change of velocity from u to v in a certain interval of time. Now, the Mother Sita along with Ravan in his Pushpak Viman is traveling with the velocity u, but still the Jatayu is constantly trying to save his mother and again attacked Ravan, but this time the Ravan took out his sword and shattered the wings of the Jatayu, and the Jatayu suddenly fell down on the ground. Wounded for the mother's sake, for Mother Sita's sake, the Jatayu is lying in the lap of the Ram and constantly gazing at the face of the Lord, died a glorious death and attained salvation. So, students, this is the plight and a life of a pure devotee of the Lord. He dies a glorious death. So, in this way, students, now this Pushpak Viman is moving with the velocity u. The velocity has changed from u to v. So, now, students, we should understand the second law of motion states that if we apply a force on a body which maybe have a mass of considered as m, the force is equivalent to the product of mass and acceleration. You can see here the force is the product of mass and acceleration. That means the velocity has changed from u to v, and the acceleration is the rate of change of velocity, which is v minus u upon t. So in this way, students, if we multiply the mass with the within this bracket with velocity, final velocity and initial velocity, it comes out to be as mv minus mu upon t. As I told you in the students in the previous class about the momentum is the product of mass and velocity, and it helps us to know the quantity of motion and the amount of impact a body will produce on the other body. So in this way, the p is equal to mv. So we know that the v is a final velocity, so the mv will be considered as the final momentum, which is p2, and mu is the initial velocity, and the product of mass and initial velocity will be considered as the initial momentum, which is p1. So p1 was the initial momentum which with the Pushpak Viman was traveling, and after applying a force F, the velocity changed to v and its momentum changed to mv. So in this way, the force is the change in momentum of the body upon time taken. Okay, students. So thus we can again state the Newton's second law in such a way that the rate of the change of momentum of a body is equal to the unbalanced force acting on it. That means, students, rate means whenever we state that rate of change of momentum, that rate means that it is happening in respect to time or with respect to upon time. That means the momentum is changing with a certain time period of t, that initially the time was 0, and from 0 to the time change to t or a certain value. So this change in the interval of time created a change in momentum. So the force is equal to the change in momentum of the body upon time taken. So the rate of the change of the momentum of a body is equal to the unbalanced force acting on that particular body. Now, students, knowing about the force, let us understand what are the units of the force. So, as we know, the formula of force is mass into acceleration, and mass is expressed in kilograms, and acceleration in meter per second square. Okay, and the force which have been stated and explained by Newton in his various laws has been given the symbol as, or the unit as, Newton, on the with the honor of the Isaac Newton. The name of the force has been given Newton, which is N. So if we put the values of units in various respective symbols of various quantities, then F will be considered as 1 Newton, and M is 1 kg, and acceleration is 1 meter per second square. So the 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg meter per second square. So if we define 1 Newton force, then 1 Newton force is that much force which produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in a body of mass 1 kg. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, दैट मीन्स कि 1 न्यूटन फोर्स वो फोर्स है जो प्रोड्यूस करता है 1 मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर का एक्सेलरेशन 1 केजी की मास ऑफ बॉडी में. Okay, so this is 1 Newton. It can be asked in an exam. It is a very general question based on the Newton's second law. So students, you learn the story and a moral and a get value from the story, that if a devotee totally surrenders the Lord and serves the Lord, he is going to be glorified forever, like Jatayu is being glorified till today. From the past Treta Yuga till today, the Jatayu is being glorified and dies a glorious death and on the lap of the Sri Ram. So students, thank you very much. Please watch it attentively and write down the derivation in a proper way, so that you may be able to understand the derivation in a better way. So thank you students, thank you very much.